Russian brass ball news. Russian brass balls are a different kind of balls, Andy. Sometimes they're even a concentric sequence of ornately painted hard balls, one inside the other. A few bugles ago, we discussed the Russian punk band Pussy Riot, who had the metallic cojones to play an anti-Putin protest song in Moscow's main cathedral and were consequently jailed on a charge of hooliganism and have been incarcerated ever since. The problem was that they tried to go ball to ball with Vladimir Putin, and that is a battle that many have fought and few have won.
Yes, a bit variously described as the Russian Bananarama, and what would have happened if Miley Cyrus had been born 12 times in Russia and got into politics. Pussy Riot's renowned for wearing brightly coloured balaclavas and doing impromptu, provocative performances about Russian political life in unusual and generally unauthorised locations, such as the cathedral or on top of buses or in the metro, and they then post these videos on the internet. And as you say, taking on Putin, John, that is brave. They burst into Moscow's Cathedral of Christ the Saviour and performed a track entitled Punk Prayer, Mother of God, Drive Putin Away. Now, I'm not a lyrics expert or a Russian expert, but I think the subtext of that song is they don't like Vladimir Putin and they would like God's mummy to pop him in the back of her car and drive him away somewhere. Probably not to a nice holiday resort.
However, this week the development is that a court in Moscow freed one of the women in the band, but upheld the 2-year sentences for the other two. The freed woman won an appeal by claiming that she'd actually been thrown out of the cathedral by guards before she could even get her guitar out of its case to join in with the band's, as you say, punk prayer. That's a pretty bold defence, Andy, having your defence statement essentially being, I was actually attempting to commit the bullshit crime that you're charging me of, but you f***er stepped in before I could do it properly. So next time you want to stick me with a trumped-up charge, please allow me to commit it first. I rest my ballsy case.
One of the women still in jail is Nadezhda Tolokinokova, who was previously involved in another protest which involved 5 couples copulating in a museum whilst a man dressed as a stereotypical Jew held up a big banner. Now, that was... Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting form of protest, isn't it? That was performed by the Voyner group, responsible for an incident previously discussed on the Bugle, where they painted a 65-metre-long wang on a bridge in St. Petersburg.
Very good.
I mean, was that art? I mean, it didn't have quite the artistic delicacy or anatomical accuracy of, say, one of Michelangelo's wangs, but to be fair, Michelangelo did paint a lot of wangs, and if you put them all together, which I'm not suggesting you do, they'd probably be about 65 metres long. And another protest by the Voyner group involved a woman shoplifting a whole chicken by shoving it up her, well, let's just say shoving it somewhere Mrs. Pankhurst would not have dreamed of shoving a chicken, and where Martin Luther King would not have had the option of shoving a chicken were he so inclined. And I think both of those two legendary political campaigners might have also raised the legitimate query of exactly what political point you could possibly make by shoving a whole raw chicken up any part of the human anatomy. Maybe something to do with recycling or the sexualisation of Sunday lunch. I have absolutely no idea.
The Russian church said that the women's actions cannot be left unpunished, although it added that any penitence should be taken into consideration. Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev even stated that a suspended sentence would have been sufficient punishment for the band. All this was added to wave upon wave of support for the band from all over the world. But was Putin interested in any of that? Well, Andy, he's about as interested in that as he is not interested in flying at the front of a flock of migrating geese in a ludicrous bird outfit. He defended the sentence, saying it's right that they were arrested. It's right that the court took that decision because you can't undermine the foundations of morality, our moral values, destroying the country. What would we be left with then? Andy, to make a statement like that, while simultaneously dismantling your country's democracy before everyone's eyes and personally plundering its national resources like a modern-day Viking, takes brass balls so big they need to be constantly lubricated by being constantly coated in a thin layer of oil to prevent them from rusting over.
It's like painting the Forth Bridge. It just never stops.
Never.
One of the Pussy Riot members told the hearing, "We are all innocent. The verdict should be overturned. The Russian justice system looks discredited." To which the Russian justice system replied, "We look discredited now? You think this is as f***ing discredited as we can get? Man, you don't even know you've been born. You do not know you've been born."